Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Emma Frost in X-Men Black. This is the final one-shot of the X-Men Black series. I like that these all came out weekly. Didn't have to wait for them particularly long. Okay, so X-Men Black, Emma Frost, Hunger is Productive. Leah Williams is the writer. That's funny. Didn't she just get finished doing the What If with Magic series? One-shot. Chris Bacalo is the penciler. Okay, a couple of inkers on here. I don't know why there's so many inkers. Fosher, Vey, Livesey, Townsend, Mendoza, and Bacalo. Couple of colorists in here too. Antonio Fabella, Dan Brown, Carlos Lopez, Chris Bacalo. And VC's Corey Petit did the letters. So, okay, cover artists, variant cover artists. J. Scott Campbell and Sabine Rich did the cover, and Salvatore La Rocca and Guru Effects did the variant cover. Okay, and of course the X-Men were created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. So this was a pretty okay story. It wasn't great. It did something. It did do something. We got a new costume change for Emma, and she has taken up the role of Black King. Interesting, and you guys have probably heard me say a couple of times, I'm not a huge fan of gender pronouns. I don't think that they're useful in English. Who cares what's between somebody's legs? You know what I'm saying? That doesn't help with anything. And it also bothers me that in proper English, there's somebody who once sat there and gave the most ridiculous freaking arguments imaginable. Oh, why do you have a problem with gender pronouns? Because I have a problem with gender pronouns, that's why. And I'm not alone, all right? Lots of people who teach English have a problem with them. They're silly for all intents and purposes. Case in point, why can't I call my cat her? According to proper English, my cat is an it. But if you call my wife an it, suddenly it's insulting. Meanwhile, we could just say they. There's nothing wrong with they. Anyhow, the English language is fluid, man, and there could come a time when that changes. In fact, I believe that English is the most fluidic language that there is out there. That's not having anything to do with this comic book, is it? Okay, so let's get back to the comic book itself. It was a cool way to have a battle between her and Shaw, Sebastian Shaw specifically. It was, I don't know. It was... I don't know how he got his powers, how Shaw started getting his powers here. He's not on Mother Vine anymore, so he can't use the secondary mutation of being able to absorb ambient energy that's around him from electrons moving at such high velocities. So what did he do? He banged his head against a pillow? Did he get to the headboard somehow? It doesn't look like it. It looks like he just he hit his head on the pillow, and somehow that was enough for him to be able to go after Emma. Anyway, it was fine. It was fine. And again, it did at least seem to go someplace. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but yeah, she's now the Black Queen, and she's got a costume change-ish, if that's even what you want to call it. She just changed the color. But it all happened here. After that, I did promise I was going to talk about the Apocalypse Degeneration story. This is the conclusion here with Zach Thompson and Lonnie Nadler on writing, Geraldo Borges on art, Rachel Rosenberg on colors, and VC's Corey Petit on letters. And, wow. The first 4 parts of this in the previous X-Men Black series was great. But every single story, and I say this all the time, every single story, unless it's a standalone, has to depend on its outro. All right? It has to depend on its coda in order to figure out, like, is this going to actually be a good story? Because you could launch great, you could have a good, run all throughout, but if you can't quite stick that ending, the whole thing just kind of falls flat, right? Meanwhile, you can have a fairly decent opening, at least enough to get the people reading, keep it going just a little bit, maybe have a couple crappy issues in between, but as long as the ending seems amazing, there you go. So what was this? This was a completely pointless ending. Completely pointless. This ended with the writers basically hoping that, saying that whole thing with, what was the thing from the X-Men TV series, the cartoon back in '92? I am Apocalypse. I am the the shore upon the rock upon which waves crash, and whatever the heck it was. It was awesome. It was freaking awesome. So they basically tried to end it with him saying stuff like that, even though it didn't actually go anywhere. This comic book, this degeneration, the X-Men Black storyline, did not go anywhere. And it seriously put the context of this book down. It seemed to have kind of brought the entire comic, that means including the Emma Frost storyline, down a lot. If they didn't have this horrible ending in the back, or if they're just like, oh, hey, we forgot to put this in, or whatever, and this was just an alone Emma Frost story, I might have actually liked the comic book a little bit better. But I have got such a horrible taste in my mouth from the didn't go anywhere storyline that involved Apocalypse. The same thing that everybody's been saying, well, not everybody, but that enough people who were much harsher with the X-Men Black series than I was, a whole lot harsher. Like, I liked a lot of the X-Men Black before this. What do you call it? I just feel like, you know, the ending, the so-called resolution to the Apocalypse story echoes perfectly what they'd been saying about all the other. It didn't go anywhere. It was redundant. There was no purpose in it. There was no point. It's the epitome of a pointless comic book. Why did this comic book even need to be made? And now this ending. Man, this had so much potential to just, you know, go somewhere. And it didn't. It did not in the slightest. It's literally just right back to the status quo. What a darn shame. What a missed opportunity that was. I'm actually really, I don't say that a lot, but I'm really disappointed in the ending, in the conclusion of this Apocalypse story. Wow. Wow, the first 4 were really amazing. And then they finish it up with this. Ooh. Anyway, guys, nothing good to say about that ending. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. Class dismissed.